future, talk radio will actually educate, inspire, and make you think. The future is now. Topics and music that affect your life from Universal Broadcasting Network. Tune in at ubnradio.com.
You and I go hard at each other like we're going to war. You and I go rough, we keep flowing.
Thanks, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Kobylt and Friends. Kurt, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. We have an interesting show today, and we're just going to go right off the bat with my first guest because he's got to get to his studio and do his show. So thank you so much for being here. We've got John Kobylt, Clear Channel Radio, The John and Ken Show. Do you know how many people are in this studio audience watching you right now?
That's an impressive crowd.
That's pretty good. So anyway, in our household, we are constantly talking politics. Last night with our middle kid, we were up talking for hours, really, about what's going on with Super Tuesday and the debates and who's going to take this. Are they going to take it? So let's talk. Let's just get right to it. What happened last night?
So Trump won 3 states outright, and
He won 3.
and he's winning a 4th. But
Is he or isn't he? What's going on in Missouri?
It's last I saw it was 2,000 votes apart, and I don't know if there's other votes to count, but they haven't officially declared him the winner. But he's ahead, and nothing's moved in hours. So let's assume he's won that. So he won 4 states. He won Illinois and Florida and Missouri and North Carolina. And John Kasich won Ohio, as you probably know. And Hillary swept all 5 states, although Missouri is very close as well. I don't know if they officially
What's
declared
going on in
it.
Missouri?
I don't
That's
know.
what I
It's
wanna
very
know.
divided.
Missouri is very divided. We've got Hillary and Bernie so close. It's too bad.
And it doesn't really make a difference either way because they're on both sides. They're going to split the delegates more or less.
Right.
So maybe it'll change one delegate from one side to the other. So basically,
But pretty much, hang on a minute. Pretty much, she's pretty much got this.
She's
She's
it's
got it.
locked.
Yeah, she's got this down locked. Let me just talk about her for a minute before we get to Trump, because everybody always wants to talk about Trump. But let's talk about Hillary for a minute. Could she pick him as a running mate? Because he's,
Trump?
Oh yeah, she's going to pick Trump as a running mate. Good idea. What do you guys think? I didn't think of that one.
That could be a winning ticket.
That's a really good one. Or I don't know what that could be. But could she pick Bernie? Because at least he brings a little bit of dignity to this race. I mean, he's the one guy out there. Regardless of your politics.
What he brings is a very passionate following, very committed.
Right, I think
and much of his following really dislikes her. Mm-hmm. So that could be a good move. Yeah, I mean they put all kinds of calculations into this sort of thing. They look to see what state a guy is from, whether he actually could be president if the president dropped dead. Whether they're compatible philosophically. I mean, there's all these other considerations. And also they're very much on the Democratic side into having things, racially balanced or demographically balanced. And what you have there is 2 older white people, and which goes against their claims that they're going after minorities and young people and all that. That's not what they'd have.
I got it. But I don't really trust, nor do I care about what the think tanks have to say. I mean, Bernie is at least a guy who's proven himself to at least be trustworthy and somewhat decent.
Well, people like him.
And people like him. I think he could bring more people to the polls to push her over the edge as opposed to just voting for Hillary and some other politician.
Oftentimes when people really don't like the nominee of the party they belong to, they just don't vote. They stay home.
Right.
They're not going to cross to the other side, but it's like, I don't like her. I'm gonna stay home. If the Bernie people see him on the ballot, maybe they say, okay, close enough, and that'll motivate him to go.
Well, what names have been kicked around?
I haven't heard anything.
You haven't heard anything?
Nothing at all. There aren't that many. Most of the people who are at the top of the Democratic Party are elderly. They really are. If you look at the House leader, the Senate leader, Hillary and Bernie, Joe Biden, Jerry Brown. It's really the last of the hippie generation holding on.
There's nobody else who's coming up.
No, the Republicans blew the Democrats out. They have 30 states state governorships.
Right.
They have a huge lead in the House. They have a lead in the Senate. There isn't a lot of depth. A lot of people got blown out of Congress in the last, 6 years, 8 years.
All right, so pretty much here's what we've got. We've got Hillary. She's nailed it. And who she can end up picking as her running mate. I'm thinking if she goes with Bernie, I think she could have a better chance of beating Trump. These are my opinions, and I tend to be right when I say this stuff.
You're always right.
I am. And I was also right. He's a smart man. Is he not smart? But I also said way back when Trump ran, people said, oh, it's ridiculous. He'll never get anywhere. I said, you watch. He's going to get the nomination.
I also think some of the Bernie guys, some of the Bernie followers may vote for Trump in a Clinton-Trump election.
Oh,
because they don't like Hillary, and there is some overlap with what Trump is preaching and what Bernie is preaching. They do meet in the middle there.
How so?
They both are angry about the trade agreements that's given away a lot of the blue-collar jobs in this country. They both talked about how the system is rigged, how Wall Street has rigged the economy. There's quite a bit of overlap there.
So you're telling me people are going to cross over party lines? You're going to tell me a Bernie Sanders guy is going to cross over and vote for Donald Trump?
Well, the party connection is weakened tremendously with a lot of people. And when you're voting for Bernie or Trump, you're voting against the parties. You're voting for outsiders who want to tip everything upside down. It's not a strong connection, especially with younger people. They don't feel that the
party connection.
Parties look anachronistic.
They are.
Yeah,
Haven't
they are.
I always said that? I just vote for the guy or gal.
Yeah.
I never go out and vote for the party. I think it's so absurd.
It's a new time. I think things are splintering. People don't feel that emotional connection anymore.
Okay, so let's say Trump gets Missouri. He's got more numbers now, and he's starting to stack these up. Can he, in fact, get the nomination? And if that's the case, then what?
Yes,
What's next?
he can. He's won about 2/3 of the states. He's won 19 out of 28. So if that proportion continues, he'll have won about 35 states. And he's won a little less than half the delegates. He's got to win more than half the delegates that are left to get to the magic number, 1237. And you can analyze that, forever. There's 22 states to go. Exactly how well he has to do in all those states is impossible to calculate right now. But he certainly can get it. He also could fall a little bit short.
And then what?
Well, then he could make a deal. He could offer Ted Cruz the vice presidency, and they would merge their delegates together. He could do that. He could do that with John Kasich too. He can, promise. He could cut deals and make promises.
People seem to like Kasich, but he can't seem to get enough votes to get out there.
You have to win stuff. Mm-hmm. It's like Marco Rubio won one state, Minnesota. That's it. He's king of Minnesota.
People talk about him an awful lot for a guy who doesn't win very much.
No,
right?
no, he doesn't even get second place all that much either.
Right.
So he's
people don't want to talk about Cruz because they're scared of him. I mean, I don't even want to mention his name. He's a scary guy.
Yeah, but at least he's won 7 states.
I know. I got you.
So Kasich won one state, and that was his home state, where he's a popular governor. Rubio has won one state. All the prattle about them is ridiculous. It's like Bernie Sanders has won a number of states, but he's way behind. Mm-hmm. So all that matters is Trump and Clinton, and Cruz has got enough delegates where he could, if Trump is short, he might be able to cut a deal and become vice president. I really don't see how anything else can happen. Now, they can carry on all day about how they're going to have a contested convention and change the rules and get some compromise candidate, but that is going to cause
chaos, more chaos.
That's going to cause most of the Trump followers to bolt. And Trump would probably do a third-party run, and I don't know what the upside of that is. That seems like crazy suicide.
What's next? I know you got your own show. You've got to get to Burbank in 45 minutes. So
no,
really
I'm fine.
quickly,
I'm fine.
Sum up for me. What's next?
It goes into a lull for almost a month.
Oh no! What are we going to do?
I mean, there's scattered races. I think Utah has a caucus, and Arizona has, I believe, a primary. Some of the smaller states, there's no list of states where Trump is not winning. I mean, some of these states don't have polling, but the stuff I look at, he's winning. In about a month, you'll get more towards New York, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Delaware in about a month, and he's ahead in whatever polling's there. Mm-hmm. Obviously, he's way ahead in New York State. And like in a general election, he could easily win New York State, which would turn everything upside down. In the Electoral College.
Will he ever tame himself, or is that not possible?
That's would be another person. That's who he is. Mm-hmm. If you demanded that Donald Trump not do this, and this, and he should do that and that and that, well, then you'd have to find another person. This is him.
So why
This
is he resonating so much? Because people are just so pissed
Oh,
off
people are
with the
ve-
establishment?
They're they're pissed off with the whole culture. They've been what I saw the other day. They did a study, and about 40% of Republicans think that the reason Trump is so popular is he's not politically correct. Just that alone, his language, his bluntness, his willing to say exactly what's on his mind. People who disagree with him still like it that he's speaking freely, because a lot of discussion has been choked off the last few years. You got college students demanding safe zones from speech and language, which is really ridiculous. You know, let people speak. If you're upset, argue with them or walk away. But the idea that you're not allowed to speak, that you should suffer penalties for speech, most people hate it. And, finally it boiled over, and there was a huge backlash. There were 22 candidates out there between the two parties. He's the only one who addressed a number of things that people felt passionately about.
Such as what? Because a lot of
Such
people are
as-
saying he's not addressing enough of the issues. That he's just out a blowhard.
Well, all right. When he came out about immigration, he spoke about it. Nobody else did. When he talked about, you know what, I think we should have a temporary ban on Muslims, he spoke about it. No one else did.
Yeah, but a lot of people didn't like what he had to say.
And a lot of
it
people
was
did. If you look
pretty
at
nasty.
Yeah, but if you look at the breakouts at the Republican primaries, anywhere from 2/3 to 3/4 of the voters agreed with him, including a lot that didn't vote for him.
I think a lot of people don't even want to admit it. They'll say, "Oh, he's a nasty
Why?
guy," and then in private they'll fill out the poll. And
That's
they'll say,
that's the thing, you know. I think a lot of people have thoughts and feelings that they don't express out loud, and he speaks for them. And they're speaking with their votes, and they're speaking with the answers to some of the exit poll questions. When he talks about the trade agreements that have shipped millions and millions of factory jobs overseas, I mean, there's a lot of these rusted out cities in the Northeast and Midwest and the South, and there's nothing but empty buildings. And unfortunately, when you take away jobs, you take away, let's talk about the men, you take away a man's dignity. You take away his purpose. He can't support his family. He becomes broken. He ends up drinking too much. They're taking meth. They're taking heroin. You know, the family divorces. The children suffer. It's hollowed out a large part of America because you took away their jobs, and these are guys who aren't going to work in IT.
Okay, but now we're going to have to go. But now you're just assuming that Trump's the answer to that. So
It's not the answer. He's speaking to it, and the other guys didn't. He won because he spoke to it, and nobody else wanted to.
I get it. All right, John Kobylt from the John and Ken Show, KFI Radio, is very, very popular, #1 rated talk show. Thank you for being here.
Oh,
I know
you're welcome.
You've got to race your way over to Burbank. Don't get up yet because
right.
we're going to say goodbye, and then we're going to come on to our next guest. All right? Thanks
All
for
right.
being here with Kobylt and Friends.
What's up guys, Iovo here, and welcome to a brand new video on the channel. What's up guys, Iovo here, and welcome to a brand new video on the channel. Now today, what's up guys?
But there's your camera. Right there. Hey, everybody. Are we on now, Kurt?
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you. The studio audience seems to have lessened a little bit, or do we have more guys here with that? Let me hear. How many people do we have? That's for you, Tom. That's our next guest is Tom Klassen, correct?
Yes.
He is co-founder of Credence Entertainment Management, and you have a very long and very distinguished and wonderful career out here in Hollywood. You've been a talent manager, you've been an agent over at ICM, at CAA, correct? And in fact, from what I read, you actually helped craft the model for how many agents do their job today, which is quite interesting, and I want to hear about that. You've worked with the likes of Steve McQueen, George Lucas, Telly Savalas, Pacino, Raquel Welch. She lived on my block when I lived in Beverly Hills.
Oh, wow.
She was quite. In fact, I lived next to Stephanie Powers. Did you ever work with her?
No, I didn't, but I know who she is.
Yeah, so it was like this whole row of folks from back in the day when we first moved to California. Let me see, we had, oh my goodness, Richard Chamberlain was on our block. It was really quite a block of like those folks.
Yeah.
You know, so it was
that
very
was
interesting.
exciting.
Yeah, it was, and they would just be walking up and down the street, and there you have it.
As natural people.
You wanted to go closer to the mic? Oh, go a little closer to the mic. So you are here because the Oscars were just a couple of weeks ago, and I wanted to get you on then. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your very, very distinguished career in the business and some of the people you've worked with and some incredible stories that you can tell us, and perhaps how you see the business having changed from when you started out to now.
It is a big change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I actually asked you if you worked with Reagan because everyone in this election on the Republican side are comparing themselves to Reagan. Your answer was no. But you've worked with so many other distinguished people. So why don't you start by telling me maybe a story or two about what may have been one of the most memorable moments of someone that you worked with, or something that has happened in your own career that you want to share.
Okay. I think one of the things that would be probably most interesting to people was one of the clients, Dennis Hopper.
Love him.
When he was doing after Easy Rider, the next movie. It's called The Last Movie, and John Wayne was a friend of his, and John came into his compound where he has this beautiful house, and had gotten a horse in Santa Fe, and he waved his cowboy hat and said, "Happy birthday, Dennis," and then he went right out.
He just took off.
He just took
John,
off.
you always hear stories like that. They would just sort of come in, make a little appearance on a personal level, and just walk out. And these guys are just left dumbfounded, right? Because
it's John Wayne.
Right. And particularly back then, they were bigger than life.
Yes.
Right? I mean, if I were to make a modern day comparison, Harrison Ford, right?
That's true.
But Harrison Ford, you could just see him at the local Starbucks, and everyone's used to him sort of walking in and out and appearing at school and dropping off the kid.
Right.
That's a big difference from back then because they weren't as involved, don't you think?
I think it's a big difference because then they were so concerned. There was so many photos of them, not like today where you can take it on your phone and.
You're right.
But so even the men were very careful how they presented themselves because that was what the public was seeing. And that was what a star was about. So you didn't see them out very much maybe on Rodeo Drive, but you didn't see them really out because they had people that came to them. And especially the women, they always looked their best. And like Raquel, you would say that. Well, Raquel is Raquel, and she's always maintained that because she always presents herself really right. And
she sure does.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, just going for a walk down the street, she looked perfect.
I know.
Good heavens!
And she is kind of perfect. I had done a screenplay for. I also was a writer, so I did a screenplay for Raquel called Siam Miami, and from a book, and that she had optioned, and she was just unbelievable. I mean, it was in her garden, and she would most of the time eat cottage cheese with little cherry tomatoes with pepper, and that was her lunch. But she was also.
I don't think I could do that.
Yeah, she was also, absolutely brilliant on the because she really got a photographic memory, and she was very good in everything she did on the project. And
Well, from what I'm gathering, these stars were almost their images were micromanaged. It wasn't really who they were; it's who maybe agents and managers wanted you to see. Isn't that correct?
yeah, that's true.
I would find that very constricting. And I imagine that
Well,
was constricting at the time. They
yeah,
couldn't
it
really
would
be
be.
themselves.
Yeah, it would be. I mean, if you go way back to Betty Davis, who broke out of that mold, she,
Right.
And she even did things like Baby Jane, which was her being really nitty gritty. And Farrah Fawcett did, Burning Bed, and she would won a Tony.
That was so
for
terrific.
any
I
of that.
saw her in Burning Bed in New York.
Yeah,
She was so terrific. And everyone was saying, Farrah Fawcett's in a play?
I know.
And she was so terrific. And that so turned her around her image.
sure.
She was
sure.
really great in that.
Well, Richard Chamberlain, who you mentioned,
Saw him on Broadway, too.
yeah, you
My Fair
mentioned-
Lady.
Yeah, exactly. And you mentioned him. He went off to Birmingham Rep to do Hamlet. I had lunch with him just before he did that at the bistro. Remember the old bistro?
I don't.
It was on Cannon Drive in Beverly
yeah,
Hills.
yeah.
And it was just truly the wonderful restaurant. I mean, LA is like that, where there's a restaurant that is it, and that was it.
That was it.
Yeah. And I had done a lot of things for him as his, not his agent. Sue Mingers was his agent, who you probably know. She was a big agent. And, but I worked with her, with him, and he just didn't know how to break from the Dr. Kildare thing, which he was so popular
See,
at.
I didn't know him as that. I only knew him because I was a kid when the Thornbirds came out.
Right.
And to this day, I cannot get that scene out of my mind where, she and Richard Chamberlain sort of just got it together. And I
Yeah.
thought, oh my God, I have to have this man. I mean, and I was just a kid. I was just a kid and I fell in
You
love
and
with him.
1,000 other women.
And then who knows who else? But I mean, he was so beautiful,
Yeah.
and that was such a passionate scene, and to this day, it's memorable. And then I followed his career ever since. And then to live on the same block when I moved here,
I know.
wow, I hit the jackpot.
I know.
And I have to tell you, I never met him, and I've interviewed so many people, never got to meet him yet.
Well, you'll still have that opportunity,
That's right.
hopefully. And he was so smart to, like Marilyn went to study in New York, Marilyn Monroe, and she really was devoted to doing that, to really being a good actor. And he went to the Birmingham Rep, which who knows how he got that. We didn't get it for him. And I was getting all sorts of movies for him, but they were not something he wanted to really do. He didn't want to be Dr. Kildare again. And a lot of stars are like that. They want to do something different.
But that must have been awfully constraining too, because I don't think he was Dr. Kildare, and to play that role.
No, he wasn't.
And to be offered that type of thing year in
yeah.
and year out, no wonder why he just turned it away.
No, he wasn't. He also just fell into it. You do that a lot when you've really got a special look, and it's really good looking, but it's also a special look. You really are a star. And he fell into Dr. Kildare, and then he took himself to be a really great actor.
Do you know who he starred with on Broadway in My Fair Lady? Melissa Errico. Do you know who she is?
I don't know her.
She's my cousin.
Ah.
So that's how I know a lot of background about what would be going on backstage.
Well, I saw him in Boston. He was doing Holly Golightly, and it was pre-Broadway, and I think it folded not because of his performance, but it folded, and he was in the same hotel I was in. We met in the coffee thing, and I really very rarely do this, but I did go up to him. And I wasn't even an agent yet. I was working for the Rand Corporation, the think tank. And I just went up to him and said, I think you're just incredible.
What did he say?
And he was very nice about it. He just said, thank you. And that was
Yeah.
about it.
You mentioned Marilyn Monroe. everyone knows her as the Marilyn Monroe, but what was she like? Did you work
I
with
didn't. No, I didn't work
You
with
didn't.
her, but I would say that if you were to compare her to someone, there isn't really anyone like that today. Although I knew a girl that probably isn't known today. Her name was Karen Jensen, and she starred in a movie called miniseries called Bracken's World, and she had that persona, and she was had a lot of photographs in Vogue, I think it was, and 4 directors called on her and just wanted to see her. She was so lovely.
Well, John, the previous guest, was talking about Trump. Like him or not, he is who he is. And Marilyn was just who she was. And you can see that she was so deeply sensitive. And anything almost would eat away at her. But it also made her, I think, a terrific actress. And a lot of
Yes.
people did not think she was. And
No.
when I look back at, because again, she was way before my time. And when I look back at her work, I think she was brilliant. And it's really too bad her life was cut so short.
Well, she was so incredibly brilliant, I think. I represented William Inge, who wrote, well, it's after he wrote Bus Stop. And in that, she was just magnificent, I thought. It's an old movie, but God, she was good in that. And so I think another person that's like that has an extreme intelligence, that was a huge star, is Elizabeth Taylor. And I connected with her through my writing years, because I wrote for a number of years too. And I wrote a script called Macrame that she committed to. And Ross Hunter, who produced Airport, was going to do it, and came right down to the wire and didn't happen, which is what happens in Hollywood.
All the time.
All the time.
To all of us.
To all of us. But she was so magnificent. And today, I think the person that would be like that a lot is Julie Roberts.
Julia Roberts?
Yeah.
But we're not reading much about her anymore. I mean, it's almost like her career is sort of, it's a little bit behind her, because she's raising kids, and she doesn't even live here, right? I don't think.
Yeah, she
So what about someone really coming up now who's won an Oscar? Oh my gosh, why am I forgetting her name? The gorgeous, out of nowhere, I'm forgetting her name. I'm drawing a blank, and that's not a good thing.
Right.
Jennifer Lawrence. How
Yes.
can I forget
Oh, well,
who she
Jennifer
is?
Lawrence. Yeah,
That's what I
she's
mean. I
just
mean, looking at
magnificent.
today's really young
Yeah.
actresses, I think she's terrific.
Yeah, I do too.
Obviously, the girl's got an Oscar, but I think she's smart. I think she's brilliant. I think she's somebody to look at. Julia Roberts, I think we're not hearing enough about her anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, we're really not.
Yeah.
So how do you see the business from when you worked it is so different than what's going on today? Other than the fact that I think they sort of craft their own image, wouldn't you say?
Right. I think it's different in that when I first started in it, a lot of the people were really, they were sons of, and unfortunately there weren't women. There should have been, but there weren't. There were a few people like Sue Mingers who came in basically as a secretary and got close to Barbara Streisand, and that happened that way. But with men, today, back then, it was a lot of them were related to someone who was a big name in the business, and they, to be honest with you, didn't really know what they were doing. That was how I fell into the whole idea of really people having training. And you mentioned the agency, how I'd been instrumental in that, and I was. It just kind of happened where the president of then CMA, which became ICM, Freddie Fields, just saw that I could do that. I could take someone on my desk, I could train them. And today, that's what I do with the management company. I'm really a mentor to these people, more to the junior managers than I am to the actors, because you have to start with the foundation.
with the manager. But also, so much is changing because there's so many now outlets for a lot of actors and actresses to go
Exactly.
to. It's not just the major
Yeah.
motion picture and a few TV stations with a few TV shows. You've
That's
got
right.
everything out there.
That's right.
I mean, I could be a lead actress on a show, don't you think?
Yes, I do.
See, you could probably make me into one.
Yeah.
I'm sure you could.
Yeah.
See, Charles.
What would I change?
What would you do? Nothing, I hope.
Let's
What
see.
would you change? Let's figure this out.
I don't
Because this is going to
think-
happen. You do know that.
I think that I would just say you're so dynamic. You were excellent in the last interview. It was just so interesting. And so I would say that you should take that
Yeah.
and let it be, like you're saying about Donald Trump.
You
He
can,
is what
because
he
you
is.
can't tame some people.
Right,
I
which-
cannot be tamed. I can. It's just
Which-
not possible.
But I don't think that you should be tamed.
no, I agree. Actually,
Yeah.
I agree with that.
I mean,
think.
if there was something radically wrong with you, then
Oh, my goodness.
one should say it, but kindly, but gently, because why would you not want to make each person the most that they could be, especially people that are stars or that can be stars.
I believe that. I think you just let people be who they are and let it rise. I really believe that
And
very
then
strongly.
you work for them. You work very hard for them.
I do.
That's the important thing, and you follow through for them.
Right. You don't
And
change
that's-
them. You know who they are, and then
That's-
you work with that. I
That's-
agree.
That's what the whole thing with which the training program was. Did they have the eye? Because that's so important. You look at you say, does she really have, is she someone that somebody else would feel was interesting? And
If you're
that's-
talking me, the answer would clearly be yes. So
Yes, I
I'm
think
messing
so.
with you a little bit. You know that, right?
No, I know that, and I have no problem with that because I think that's part of your charm.
Oh, thank you.
And so I would say, yeah. Would I go with it? Yes, I would.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, look for me, on your
Yeah.
local TV show because the TV station because this is going to happen clearly.
Yes.
So, Tom, I think we have somebody else on the line right now. We do.
We have your next guest.
We have, but let's keep the three of them on together. Will that work? I'll tell you who we have on.
Okay.
He is a stylist of the stars. He worked this past Oscars. In fact, are you there, Michael O'Connor?
I am.
Hello. He's Skyping in. There he is. He's so handsome.
Thank you.
You are so
Should
handsome.
we make him a star, do you think?
He's already a star.
Yeah,
he
he's a
doesn't need
star
it.
already.
I'm a
He's-
star
yeah.
in training, so
Yes.
that's how we're looking
Okay.
at that.
Listen, we can all use help.
We can all use help. You're adorable, Michael. Do we have a couple of pictures of Michael dressing me for the Oscars with gorgeous jewelry? Do we have? There we go. There we are. There's me with Michael in the suite. So, Michael, just so
Can
you
I
know,
turn like this? Yeah.
yeah, go ahead. Michael, just so we know, we have in studio Tom Klassen. He's been an agent. He is a foremost, has so many incredible stories about what's gone on in Hollywood in the past. He's got a company right now called Credence. Isn't it
Credence.
Credence
Credence
Entertainment
Entertainment.
Management? Okay. And we're talking a little bit about,
I really may need to speak to you, Tom.
wait, what's that? Say it again.
I may need to speak to Tom
Why?
because we could all use good representation.
No,
Yes.
he's amazing. I mean, he's
Yes.
done it all. He's worked with so many of
Right.
the big stars. And, Michael worked by dressing so many of the people this year, particularly with jewelry, and styling them for the Oscars and previous shows and previous Oscars. How do you look at the Oscars? How has it changed from when you were really studying them and working with them years past?
Well, I would say that it's changed, but it really hasn't. As far as the women are always decked out really beautifully, and
I think more gorgeous than ever,
Yeah,
honestly.
and I think they somehow take it to the extreme, and I love that. When Jodie Foster came out for the Oscars, and she basically was almost, not nude, almost. And I thought that was absolutely daring and wonderful. And when Liz Taylor was given a special award, and she came out in her violet, which is her color for
Did she really have violet eyes? I mean, I know you worked with her quite a bit.
Yeah, she did. She did. She was really so incredibly beautiful that it was just amazing. It's the eyes you have eyes that are terrific. It's the eyes.
Oh, thank you. You can just come home with me. I mean, the
Thank
way
you.
you're making me feel today, my eyes are not violet, but they are dark brown, and
They're dark brown.
you can just keep going because
Right.
I'll take it. But so she was really outstanding.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
I met her once, but she was a little older and not feeling so well. So you can't judge what a person is like then as opposed to what they were like in their heyday.
No, you have to go back to when they were at their heyday.
Mm-hmm.
And her heyday was Butterfield 8 and you know, a lot of things that she did that were just mind-boggling. But I think that to answer the question, I think that it's changed, but it really hasn't. Probably going way back, I think probably women were influenced by some of the Paris designers, that they thought that's what they had to wear.
Oh, really? The
And-
Paris designers. Okay.
Yeah, but I think today, what I love is that it's absolutely free. Someone like our other guests can come in and just absolutely make someone gorgeous.
Let me tell you, he made me gorgeous that day because I wasn't feeling so particularly terrific. And all he had to do was put a gorgeous piece of jewelry on me and it just changed everything.
You know,
Michael, go ahead.
It's amazing, though. The fact is that whatever we put on our body has such a profound influence on the way we feel about ourselves, whether that's a great piece of clothing or, in your case, as we were talking about that day, a great piece of jewelry. And little things really mean a tremendous amount, like little things that you can do for yourself that really just are small things, but really can just totally change your attitude and your feeling.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
You know, because I always say to people that people don't necessarily need to spend $1 million to look like $1 million. And I always tell people that after all of these years, I have worked with many, many, many of Hollywood's celebrities. And
Wait, let's put some of them up there. We've got some pictures of some of the folks that you've worked with, right?
Yes. I think
We've got Amy Adams that you've worked with. I mean, you've worked with so many. You've worked with me. So
exactly.
list some of the folks that you've worked with and dressed.
I worked with basically most of the Desperate Housewives, Nicolette Sheridan, Felicity Huffman, Eva Longoria a few times. I've worked with Gabourey Sidibe when she was up for Precious. People like Vanessa Williams. I worked with a lot of people from the show The Office. So Kate Flannery, Phyllis Smith, Angela Kinsey. And I've worked with some great men, too. I've worked with Steve Carell, for example.
Oh, I love him.
I've worked with the Jonas Brothers. I've worked with
love him, too.
With Pat Monahan from Train. So no one is immune to good style.
What do you like? Because I know you love to have pieces that really pop out to make someone. Now, there's Nicolette Sheridan. You were talking about her. Look at that gorgeous piece. It almost looks like the piece that you put on me. That's fantastic. And she's in a simple white outfit, and then, you know, the jewelry pops. I mean, is that what you like to do? You like to work the accessories more on, or what do you like to do?
I have to tell you that originally my career started out as an accessories designer, as a jewelry and accessories designer. And I firmly believe that your clothing is really like the wrapping you put on a gift.
Oh,
so the wrapping is beautiful and it's going to fit nicely. It's going to make a great presentation, but the absolute amazing part always comes with a ribbon and bow. And to me, that's all about the accessories. Years ago, I used to do this thing all across the country on various lifestyle shows, and it was how to dress up that little black dress. And it was to show women that if they invested wisely in the right elements of their wardrobe, they actually could make their wardrobe dollar go a lot farther and get more wear out of the garments that are in it. Because what I would do is I would take six identical little black dresses from Donna Karan, and I would accessorize them in 6 different ways. So you'd have a business attire, you'd have a cocktail attire, you'd have a date attire, you'd have a luncheon attire, you'd have a gala evening attire. So there was all of these different ways, and it was simply done with accessories like scarves, hats, sunglasses,
Shoes.
jewelry, handbags, shoes, and all of those things that you say to yourself, well, you know, they're great on their own, but when you find them in combination, you can take something very simple like a little black dress and totally kick it up a notch.
So, as you studied the Oscars from this past year, how do you think the women were looking, and how do you think people have evolved over the years in their fashion sense and how they're showing up at these award shows?
I totally agree that the fact that years ago it was a totally different game. I think that we went through a teenage awkward period because a lot of people said to themselves, well, you know what, I'm going to style myself and I want to get a lot of press, and hence we had things like Cher in her like totally reveal all outfit.
Wait. You're going to tell me she put herself in that Bob Mackie thing? Or come on. Is that what the one you're talking about?
Yes, but the fact is that she relied upon a dress designer whose forte was to create an impact statement.
Well, that definitely happened. I mean,
and
that was
incredible.
An
impact statement, but it didn't necessarily create the right impact for everybody. I mean,
memorable. It was memorable.
Memorable, and share.
Exactly. I was just.
There's only one other.
On the other hand, you have somebody like Bjork who wore the swan that year that everyone still talks about.
Because that was so atrocious. I mean, who shows up in a swan?
Think about it. She still has so much press from that swan. But the fact is that from a style perspective, it was hideous.
Right. So what do you think was a real standout this year? And who did you work on this year that we could talk about?
That's funny because I have to tell you, in all honesty, as soon as I work with people, it kind of goes out of my mind.
I know, I'm the same way.
And even when I started to talk about like some of the people who I've worked with in the past, just a couple of minutes ago, I was like, oh my God, yeah, I've worked with Amy Adams. I've worked with Eva Longoria. So because to me, it's a very focused time period, and you focus in on that group for the moment, and then right after that, they're gone. So I mean, I worked with. Let me think if I can remember. Sola Bamas from Mad Men. I worked with most of the girls from Orange Is the New Black. I worked with Serena, the lady who won the Oscar for the short. I think it was called The Stutterer. Now you're going to see exactly how little I know about the people I work with.
Well, because you know why? They're probably a canvas to you. And then you dress them. Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, listen, if you worked with the people from Orange Is the New Black, that's brilliant alone, and I'm happy just to hear that. So
yeah, he's pretty brilliant, as you are. I mean, you know, you're both at the top of your game.
And you forget things, like I thought before this interview, I thought, wow, what am I going to talk about? And just there are tons of things that happen that you remember them.
It blends together.
Yeah.
I remember once a lot of times I forget who I interview as well, especially when I was doing the entertainment reporting. And I would come home and my husband would say, so who did you interview today? And I'd say, I don't remember. And about 15 minutes later, a girlfriend would call and I'd say, I talked to John Travolta today and I was at his house. And he'd say, how do you not remember something like that? Because it starts to blend together, which is really bizarre, but it's true, right?
It's really strange is that sometimes I'll be sitting watching television or I'll be watching a movie and I'll look at somebody who is in the movie or on the television in a role and I'll be like, oh my God, I know that person.
Right.
Right.
You sometimes just you make a disconnect. And interestingly enough, I always tell people I find it very difficult to connect with a lot of television shows specifically, only because I've worked with so many of the people separately, and I know them as real people. So sometimes it's very hard for me to buy into them as characters.
It's very, very difficult, I think. There's now so many TV shows out there that when someone shows up on a red carpet, I don't know who they are. Do you run into that, Tom? You must as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you, Michael?
Well, I'll tell you that for a number of years, I covered the red carpet for TV Guide Channel, for Reels Channel, for Reuters International. And thank goodness what they do is prior, they give you a booklet. And as someone comes down the carpet, they rip out the page with the person in it.
Right.
And it basically gives you a little rundown of everything. So it gives you all the information to have a conversation with this person, because you're right. The more people that there are out there, the more difficult it is to remember exactly who you need to remember and the points about them that are really going to be of interest to the viewer or the listener.
So basically, if someone wants to sort of rip off a look on a red carpet, which was stylized and put together and so much time came into it, how can a regular person look somewhat similar to that? I mean, that's always very, very difficult because how do they do it?
I think, if I may,
Yeah.
I think my mother did that because we lived in Minneapolis for a short while until I was in the 3rd grade. And we didn't really have any money, but my parents put me through an expensive school, and my sister too, just because they wanted us to have that education. And my mother, we went to a lot of movies, and my mother kind of looked like a movie star. And so she made her own clothes, and she would take things apart and put them back together. And she just was a jewelry person. I mean, that's why she would have loved you. And I had the joy later in life when I was making pretty good money to give her things that were so outrageous that she wouldn't wear them, but then her sister would. And then once
That's actually really funny.
Yeah, once the sister had worn it, then my mother would be happy to wear it. And so it was a wonderful thing to do, but she had the most amazing ability to do kind of what you were talking about, to take a simple black dress, and I remember one in particular that I bought for her, to take a simple black dress and make it something unbelievable.
Well, you said something that I've always believed, simple. Just start with something basic and simple that you're comfortable in, and then accessorize. Or because if you feel good in it, you're going to look good and you're going to wear it right.
Right.
You know, I tend to fall short of the accessories. With the accessories, I think for me, because I never have time. I have a bunch of kids. I'm very, very busy, so I just run out the door in monochromatic, clothing. And I'm lucky if I even manage to put on a pair of earrings. So I think if somebody
But you put on a very interesting pair of earrings today.
Yeah.
This is something I would have given to my mother.
Oh, really?
Or not to my sister, because I love my sister, but she didn't like things quite so.
Well, I felt like these would pop at least a little bit
Yeah.
against the black.
She didn't like them, her things to pop. Whereas my mother, she wore stuff like that did pop. It was gorgeous. I loved it. And
I think you said two things that I think are so amazing, Tom. The fact is that, first of all, when your mother would look at these designs and she would make them, the fact is she had the ability to make them for her body type. And I think that is a key element there, because a lot of people will say they'll see something on a model, or they'll see something on somebody on television, and they'll say
they want to be it.
I want that.
Yeah.
I want to look like that. But the reality is that their body is nothing like that person's body, and so they end up looking, frankly, badly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But and then the other thing that you said, I think that was great, is the fact that when you add your accessories, or when you add an article of clothing, I always say that great style is actually, it's a very simple formula. Good taste with the dash of daring gives you great style.
Yes.
And that dash of daring is what you need.
That's right.
Okay, and what could the dash of daring be? It could be your personality.
It can be. It can be.
In many cases, it is.
Right.
With me, it definitely is.
Well, it can be with men too.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. But with a dash of daring. I love that. And I know that you're a guy who believes in that as well. A little bit monochromatic and then pop it. Is there anything you think this year that maybe didn't work so well, Michael?
I have to say that there were very few people who I saw on the red carpet who I felt it didn't work. There were a couple of people I would have liked to see more of, and specifically, since we're talking about accessories, Rooney Mara, for example.
Oh, yeah.
I think she is absolutely beautiful, but to me, the woman never really wears an accessory. I mean, she gets a gorgeous dress, and that's basically it. And to me, it's falling a little short of personal objectives. I think she should have better personal objectives. But I also think that she is a role model to women out there, and not everybody was born with, her great figure or her great bone structure. And so people need to be able to to accessorize or have that little bit of extra pop. And I think that as a role model, if she thought about that a little bit more, she might accessorize a little bit better. Because I find that she's a little underwhelming sometimes, although beautiful.
So where are you off to next? And your website is Style and Substance, correct? So if people want to look you up, because we're actually running out of time, how do they find you?
If they want to find me, the best place to find me is either in social media on my Facebook page, which is Michael O'Connor Style.
Okay. Michael O'Connor
or,
Style.
Via Instagram or Twitter, and my handle there is @StylingSpy. So StylingSpy.
Well, we will Twitter out about this interview, that's for sure, and you do the same, so then people can find you. That'll be great. Also, when are you coming back here to LA?
Well, at this point, I don't have any tickets in my roster. I'm hoping that something might come to fruition. I have a little deal going on over the next that might happen in about 2 months. If so, then I'll be back in 2 months.
Yeah, and we'll have you back in studio. That'd be really fun because I love talking to you. And Tom, we can look you up, and people can look you up by.
I'm Tom at Credence. Actually, CredenceTalent.com.
Credence Talent, and spell that for everybody.
CreDence.
CredenceTalent.com. And basically, your focus now with your talent company. Who are some of the clients that? What do they do? I mean, they must be. What are some of your clients?
We've got a new. We've opened ourselves up to handling people that we're just totally excited about. So.
Acting, music, a little of everything?
Acting, yeah, the whole thing. And also literary, too.
Literary as well, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Then we'll look you up. It was so fun having you here.
Thank you.
Not enough time, though.
You're delightful.
Thank you. So are you.
Yeah,
you're so
you.
adorable. Thank you for being here.
Thank
you can hear my voice. I'm losing it. I was telling the publicist Riley today, I said, gosh, I hope I can make it through because I can barely speak. I'm getting a little hoarse. So thank you for coming on the show.
He's an incidentally wonderful publicist.
Yeah, he's wonderful.
Yeah, I really like him.
Love him. Riley. He's looking at us right now.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyway, everybody, thank you for being a part of Kobylt and Friends, and we'll see everybody next week. Okay. Thanks, Michael. Thanks, Tom.
Thanks.